I always like to make special forms and apply it to my architectural works.
Maybe I'm the smallest one in this room, so I'm really looking forward to studying something from you guys.
So I'm interested in working with geometry and exploring new materials and forms.
I just finished my third year in Heriot University, Dubai.
I have a fascination for the fractals due to their geometric beauty, and also when I have searched about the fractal, I got to know about you, and from there your work has been inspiration for me from the very beginning of my journey with the fractals.
Fractals have always interested me, like how three lines make a tree. So from that point to fractals in clouds and the waves of the sea and lots of places in nature. But then decoding that into geometry, the way simplistically you're trying to do it.
I'm eager to be exposed to something new and something exciting to learn new architecture.
I'm quite interested in computational design or any kind of discipline or rule in architecture, and geometry, specifically fractal geometry, has always been like an interest of mine, which can be seen in the nature and everything.
I am really looking forward to learn a lot about fractals. I had taken some courses in university that touch certain themes related to special structures like integrity and geometric shapes and all sort of those things, and so I was really interested in the subject. So
I am interested in parametric design, and I also have affection for making models, both digital models or hand-making models.
And I've always been interested in biomimicry architecture, and that's why it just interests me, like finding the forms and fractals. And I've been following you since the time you started the first workshop, and it's just like a role model to me. And I'm so happy to join you.
I'm glad you're here as well.
So we've got some small grids, and the first one is a square with a dot in the grid, and the second one is a bigger square with the dots in each grid. So every grid that is made with the squares is filled with the dot.
If we can look at it, it's a box, one form that is repeated into same form is repeated, forming a different type of other forms.
I see this geometry in the approach you have said in previous slides, that's down to up. I see it in the reverse process from 225 to 1, and it gives us the nature, how it has been brought up from 1 to 25 to 5. So I'm seeing in the reverse order. So elimination of the outer dots and the square, it's leading to the 1. So this is how the self-similarity is in the process from.
Basically, this reminds me of those Rangoli patterns down and south, where you eliminate the dot and join the dots, and there has to be a dot included within the line, something like that. So everywhere, whenever you can't include the dot, it converts into the line.
This is a hexagon, and I'm just gonna talk about the hexagon, and I want somebody to talk about the other ones. So here you've got a hexagon, and the rule seems to be that you remove one line of the hexagon and you add 3 lines. You're replacing every side with half a hexagon. And then each of these you're replacing with half a hexagon, if you can see. And each of those lines, again, you're replacing it with half a hexagon, which has 3 lines. And over again. At the end, it kind of looks curvaceous, but it's actually made up of straight lines. So the rule is that you would give a state for the top 3 squares, and then the output would come in the center lower square. All right. So you need to create your own rules.
Fused actually. So this is what I created, and I this is the first color that this is the first block that I colored.
Just the center square being black, because none of the other conditions are being met. So if I'm traveling through the grid this way, none of the other conditions are being met. Only this condition is being met. So I keep going and I just keep getting the same condition. So this is the outcome I would get.
Yeah, so for the first option, what I did is I assumed the third square to be the starting point. So I just painted it black and then applied the rule from the second row onwards.
I started with the first square. So since this is not a part of the rule, I left it as 0 itself. Any other than the given rules, I consider it as 0. And then over here, I have 1 black and then 2 white and over here. So that is 0 according to my rule.
I start in this grid with 12 units. So with one corner black and another corner black in the first row, and then I, according to my rule, and have this grid. But to my surprise, it's just the end at the sixth row.
I started with this, and I think it's this word.
Yes.
It has the font, and
so this is what I have tried to make. So it gives an alternative result, and also I tried to frame it with by changing the position of the middle box.
I made 2 rules, and in the first line, I started with this first line in the left side of the box, and I made the second box by the first rule.
Yeah.
And by the second rule, I made the box under it.
Yeah.
And
then the first rule again.
The first ones just follow the same rule, and it turns out 2 weird diagrams. And the first one is the first line is all white and the second line is all black. And because of these two rules,
we're gonna have a 1, and if like on the left side or the right side are filled, we're gonna have a 1. And I think it's gonna, I'm not sure what it's gonna look like at the end, but I was actually very curious of what will happen if we don't actually apply a rule of 0.
And again, origami based aggregations. And then this is also paper folding, but in strips, and they've aggregated it. And you can totally, at this point, imagine that at no point did this student know that this is the shape that it's going to take. So she started with this diamond shape, and she started aggregating them, and only at the end of it, she, by applying the rules, she was able to arrive at this outcome without really knowing what the outcome would be. These are some of those explorations. You can see hand-drawn diagrams, you can see Rhino aggregation models, as well as physical models. So these are some of the units. Just for you to have an idea of where we are headed. The first day, we're not going to be focused on digital modeling. We're going to be focused on the analog physical models and prototypes, which are really important, and analog computation. So you are kind of coming up with rules just like a computer would, but you're doing it in the physical world. So this is a little kid in the park.
Yeah.
He's made it into a mask.
Yeah.
I think I should make it mandatory that everyone attends the workshop from a park. That's a really good idea.
I was trying to catch the sun with this artificial mouth.